Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here on time. We have a few folks absent. I think they had the Commerce Lexington fly-in this morning, so I understand that they've landed and everybody is safe in Washington, so everything's in good order. We are passing around a sign-in sheet. Please execute where indicated, or if there's no place, just put your name down. All visitors, welcome. Glad you're all here. We will start with the review of the June 14th, 2017 minutes, which is in the board packet. Anybody have any questions, modifications, or edits for those minutes?
I had a comment on the minutes. I read them before bed last night. Mm-hmm.
Went to sleep like that.
And on Steve's comments at the last paragraph, we also mentioned that Minneapolis was very high on their use of block by block. So we talked about that in the meeting. We might want to put that in the minutes. And then also they talked about the integration of their radio system with the police.
Oh, yes.
That I think Catherine was going to look into, but I thought was an interesting piece. So I think that the mention of block by block and how happy they were with their use of them could be worthy of including in the minutes. That's all I had.
Okay, so minutes of adding the use of block by block and how complimentary they were of them, as well as the integration of the radio system with the police. Any other edits or modifications to the minutes? Chair will entertain a motion with those edits. Motion by Lawrence, and a second by Gary. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Great. Steve, the treasurer's report.
Yes, you'll see in your packet, excuse me, through June 1, 2017, program revenues, $424,000, right at $200,000 expenses, so our current balance is $224,522 as of this report. You'll see down at the bottom the June expenditures. The majority of this is our contract with Block by Block. We have Marjorie Guyon in the billboard advertising that we agreed to do. So gives a subtotal of the expenses and where we stand. And so currently, as of August 17th, we're at $202,888.
Any questions of Steve on the treasurer's report? Well, our next infusion of income will come in October, November from our property taxes. So we got pretty much all we're going to get this year. And as Steve indicates, our major expense between now and then will just be the contract we have with Block by Block and some other potential art projects. If there's no comments or questions, the Chair will entertain a motion to approve this report.
Second.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Zeta. Any other questions, comments? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, Mr. David, you're up.
Nothing new to add, really. Everything's holding steady. Some numbers are even down. I sent to you the proposal for the hot water pressure washer, the pricing and everything. It costs $22.99 with Amazon, but you get a $200 gift card back if you get it right. And I noticed there were no outside places for water, and I would have to use a hydrant. And in order to get a meter from American Water, it's $1,500 for a deposit. But I spoke with the manager in Louisville that he said that he has an extra one he would let me get. And if y'all decided to go ahead and get the hot water pressure washer, I wouldn't have to worry about the meter and everything. And I used the one I rented on Mill Street, took the gun right up. It took the gun right up, and it cuts down on the amount of time spent trying to get it up. So I'd like for y'all to get it.
Unanimous acclamation. Let's go get it.
And I did have one proposal. It was more of a beautification thing, right? I just wanted to put the idea out there. It's about the tree wells with all the rocks in them. A lot of times when it rains and everything, most of the rocks end up on the sidewalks. And as far as the trash, the cigarette butts and everything, gets inside of it. So I had an idea. I don't know if y'all want to pursue it or not, but this is called porous pave, and it goes in the tree well and you can you can cut it where to go around the tree that's already in the well, and water can get down inside of it where the trees still get water. I haven't got all of the pricing and how much it'll cost and everything yet. I didn't know if y'all might want to pursue it or not, but I do know it's like $19. It's $19 a square foot. So I just was putting the idea out there, something to think about.
And they use this in Louisville
Too, right, David?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the length of it? I mean, how long is the warranty on it? How long does it stay pretty and green and the time on it?
The color hold, and I know they've had it in Louisville for like, I think it's been about 4 years now, and it's holding strong. And
Do you wanna pass that around so we can?
Feel, because it does have a kind of different feel to it.
So $19 a foot, how much a
square
tree?
foot.
So how much would a tree?
See, that's why I was just putting the idea out there until I get all of the numbers together, because some of the tree wells are bigger than the others, like the ones at 21C on Upper Street, they're kind of big.
Right.
And the property owner right there, he hates the rocks, right? He really hates, and the ones on North Broadway and the 100 block, that's another time it rains, they're in the street, they're all up against the buildings and everything. So just an idea for something different. Now, if y'all are interested in it, I can get more detailed information. The people that do it is called the Franson Group, and he said he'll send me more information if you were interested in knowing about it.
Can you find out also about cigarette butts and stuff? Those should,
Sweeps right on up.
okay, but what about the ones that continue to burn? You know what I'm saying, something, people flip them out.
Well, most cigarette butts now, they extinguish themselves. If they're extinguished, they'll go out their own instead of continue to burn now. So they'll just sweep right up and they'll burn out, and it won't even hurt the material from what I've seen from the ones in Louisville anyway.
What about gum?
Do you think gum would be easy to?
I haven't seen that problem yet, but
Yeah.
with that hot water pressure wash, I get it. Right.
Yeah. Take it right off.
Good salesperson, huh?
He's still selling, isn't he?
Yeah, you got it, David, don't keep selling, we got it, we're convinced.
But it is a good idea though.
Yeah.
And you can get it in different colors. You can even get it in cardinal red.
Red around the trees,
I think they would disappear quickly.
they would, that's right.
Do you know approximately how many of these tree wells you're talking?
The ones on 3, 5. It's 2 on Upper Street, 3 on North Broadway by Lex Park, and there are several of them on Vine Street going along on the on the south side of the street. I forgot the exact number of them, but altogether I think it's around about 15. And you can do it in phases if you decide to do it, especially right there on Vine Street, because we'll try to clean that. We clean it up. It's like it's all rocks are still always. People go by, they kick them out, and it just looks real bad.
What is it called?
Porous pave.
Porous pave?
Yes, sir.
It's like recycled rubber or some
Mhm.
tires. Yeah.
Can we get some pictures from Louisville maybe of what the end result looks like, or do you have them? Okay.
But not the cardinal red. Just wasn't that, it looks like it's recycled.
Have you seen it?
Extremely durable.
I haven't paid attention.
I'm in Boca Down and find out where
That's
they
how
are.
it is, it sets up, obviously, when you put it in there.
Okay. Oh, it's come, oh, okay, that is interesting. Huh,
Oh, yeah.
that would be.
Yep. It's like it's like it's where you put it in there, and then it's hard, it's in there.
This is the tree guys, just, well, you just dig it up, man.
I'd say you could cut it out of there.
Yeah. Huh, interesting.
It might look neater.
It would.
I said it might look neater.
David, are these on city property, or are they all on private property, or mixed, or?
I guess I'm assuming that it's all city property. They're all on the sidewalks.
Would it violate any kind of city
I don't know.
warranties or?
I'm not sure about that, but there's a tree board meeting this morning. If you'd let me borrow that.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
take it to the tree board, see if any of the tree types have an objection to it.
And who's,
They might, if I could take one of the
is
photographs.
Pox responsible for the, tree wells?
There's
Is
parks.
Fox responsible? Cause, I had a phone call from, Bess Bennett. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Esplanade in Maine. Building between 108 and 112. There's some tree wells, it's 2 tree wells right there beside the parking that's overgrown with weeds. And he called me about it the other day.
Yeah,
I
I got
said
the
to-
same phone call. It's not weeds, but we're gonna
I
try.
mean,
it
but
down.
yeah, I mean, you know, just overgrown. So you did get it?
Yeah.
All right. That's it for me.
We have looked at this before. It's really expensive.
Just
and
labor.
It does the same things as bricks. When the tree grows, it pushes it out. So it's the expense is why we never tried it. It is a good product, but it's so expensive. And, you know, when the trees grow and push, you know how they push the brick and stuff out, they'll do the same thing to this.
Or will, how long does it take before you start seeing
It
it
just
happen?
depends on the tree and its growth, so.
Well, that's good information, David. If anybody wants to pursue it, we could certainly take a look at it. Sounds like the city's already looked at it, though. I don't know. I mean,
It's the expense. the
yeah,
reason.
yeah. You think you could do the cut around the tree enough to where we wouldn't have to deal with the growth issue as quickly as you might think, or, you know what I'm saying?
Well, the
It's a-
wells
it's a
are
company.
only so big, they're in
Yeah.
concrete, so.
Mhm.
But it wouldn't hurt to try a few.
Yeah,
And this needs to go in when the tree is planted, because when you dig it out, you're gonna be hurting the roots to put this in. So
Mhm.
it needs to go, if you're gonna do a test, we should probably do it when a new tree is going in somewhere. Get the best results that way.
right. David, why don't we get a count, if we can, of the tree wells, and if we could, some rough estimate of the total square footage we're talking about, so we can understand the economics of it a bit? Would that be okay to everybody, just to check it out?
Is this a $5,000 project or a $25,000?
Exactly, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, and could you ask Louisville if they use these, how they deal with some of these questions that have come up?
Okay, I'll get Ken a call. today.
Because if other cities have used it, they must encounter some of the same situations where, how do they deal with those?
All right.
At the very least, would you consider some of your high-profile areas where people are
Yeah.
complaining that you just did 2 or 3 or 4?
That may be the only way to do it. Will do.
Also, if it's gonna kill existing trees, I mean.
All right.
We can't do that. Go there.
Yeah.
I'll get an opinion too.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I did want to make a comment. Yesterday, we had a lady, she's a downtown regular. I don't know her name. I'm sure many of you all have seen her before, but she dresses in all black and she walks around and picks up trash. But anyway, she came into our office and she just wanted to say that she's noticed a huge difference in the cleanliness of downtown and was very supportive of the management district and really liked the work that the ambassadors were doing. So I just wanted to share that with all of you. She's definitely downtown every single day. So
She's a tough lady too, so.
yes,
Yeah.
but she came, and then I also wanted to make another comment. We had
Make positive comments.
No, she did not.
yeah, we have a residential property owner joining us today at the end of the table. He his name is Mario. He lives at 2nd Street.
200 West 2nd Street.
He received one of our postcards encouraging people to sign up for our e-newsletter, so he thought he would come and learn more about what we're doing. So I just wanted to say welcome and feel free to comment, make suggestions, ask questions, but we're happy to have you here, and we would love for you to encourage your neighbors to come as well.
And what, second and what?
200 West 2nd Street.
Well, we was working over there yesterday. Right on time.
Okay, any other questions for David on his report? Well, David, kind of get back with us, if you would, next meeting, give us an update and maybe some pricing, see what some of the Louisville folks will tell us. You know, Beverly makes a good suggestion there. See what we can, we'll knock it around a bit more. Doesn't hurt to explore it. Okay, I think now we are probably going on to, what's our next item? I've lost my agenda.
We're gonna have Jonathan Hollinger. He's
Okay.
the Director of Project Management in the Office of the Mayor. He is going to tell us about Town Branch Commons. You all have probably seen it in the news, so we thought it'd be a good idea to bring this board up to speed with everything that's going on. So welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you. I do have a few slides this morning, so hopefully pull up quickly. My name is Jonathan Hollinger. I work in the mayor's office at the city as the director of project management. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Town Branch Commons today. Town Branch Commons is a project that runs almost entirely through the downtown management district's boundary, so it should be of interest to you. I apologize. I know many of you have probably heard me give this presentation before, so I try to change it a little bit every time. Town Branch Commons is a project that is a partnership between many entities. Town Branch Trail has been around for many years working on that project. City of Lexington is obviously the recipient of many grants and federal funding as well as local funding for the project. The Bluegrass Community Foundation and the Downtown Development Authority have both been involved in the project at various points. This is a basic map of what Town Branch Commons connects. So Town Branch Trail runs from, this is basically Oliver Lewis Way, out to Masterson Station Park. The Legacy Trail, which many of you are familiar with, runs from the horse park and actually beyond now, all the way in, and will eventually connect to Isaac Murphy on this end, and to Town Branch on the other end at, on Newtown Pike. So this is a little bit of a tighter view of that, and you can see some of the destinations along the way that it does connect. This is the Town Branch Trail, the Legacy Trail, as well as Town Branch Commons in the middle there in blue. So looking just downtown, and this would be the area of interest to this board certainly, you can see all of the public spaces that Town Branch Commons will connect. It will connect Isaac Murphy, Charles Young Park, Thoroughbred Park, Phoenix Park, and Triangle Park, and it also includes two new parks in Town Branch Park and Karst Commons, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So I always like to start with a little bit of history about the project, and so Town Branch is a body of water on which Lexington was founded. This is an image from McConnell Springs that shows an approximate location of where that begins. And so Town Branch is a very historically important body of water. This is actually the house of James McConnell, who was one of the founders of Lexington. It's still standing on Manchester Street today. Obviously, you can see it has been neglected for a number of years, but it will be part of the Town Branch Trail and will be part of that project and acquired by the city and maintained going forward. So this is an image of Lexington, a very early image of Lexington, and Town Branch follows this path. So this is basically Vine Street up Midland Avenue, and that was the original historic path of Town Branch. Now, you can see here on Commons or Water Street from 1791, that was also the path of Town Branch. Now, unfortunately, with an increasingly urbanized downtown, caused flooding and lots of other issues, and ultimately Town Branch was put into a culvert under downtown, as many of you know. That runs approximately along the path of Vine Street and daylights on each end of downtown and Rupp Arena's parking lot, and then near the Jif plant on Midland Avenue. So what does Town Branch Commons do? Well, it highlights that historic path of the Town Branch, the body of water on which Lexington was founded. It creates new world-class public spaces and also provides a regional bike and pedestrian network. It's really more than a project, it is a collection of projects. So we have the Town Branch Greenway, which is a bike and pedestrian path that connects our existing trail system. We have Town Branch Park, which you may have seen in the paper recently, which is a world-class central park that is envisioned to be located behind Rupp Arena, adjacent to an expanded convention center. We have Karst Commons, which would occupy the parking lot, the city and KU parking lots across from the transit center along Vine Street, as well as other public space improvements along the way, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So this is, once again, just to orient you to the path of Town Branch. Town Branch Park is located in this area. This is Oliver Lewis Way, this is Jefferson Street, which would be removed as part of both this and the Convention Center project. There's Rupp Arena. The expanded Convention Center would extend out this way, and there would be a park in that area. So what is Town Branch Park? It's a world-class space for all types of users. It is not dedicated to one particular use. Anybody can find something to do in Town Branch Park on a given day. It's also coordinated with the new Convention Center, which you can see, and this is a previous image of that, it would be back here. You can also see the lack of the Jefferson Street Bridge in this picture. It will have all sorts of different programs. It will have an extended Town Branch stream channel. So this is an example of a daylit stream in another project, but there will be an extension of the existing Town Branch through the park. It will have a performance space. We'll have very unique children's play areas, and we'll also have opportunities for dining and other types of activities within that park. And that's just a small sample of all of the programs that will be in that park. The conceptual design is currently underway. A private fundraising campaign is ongoing. They're aiming to raise $31 million. You may have seen an announcement recently. They have raised $5 million towards that goal so far, and so they are well on their way. The timeline for that campaign is 5 years, but construction may start earlier than that depending on how fundraising goes and some other factors, including when they move into the next phase of design and things like that. So Karst Commons, this is the park that is envisioned to be across from the Transit Center. It's also near Phoenix Park, and this is that area. You can see this is the MLK bridge that comes over, and this is Vine Street and Limestone. So Karst Commons is a linear park. It's a little bit different than Town Branch Park. It's a little bit less green. It's more of a plaza space. And it does highlight the historic path of Town Branch. Town Branch is quite literally located underneath that parking lot currently. On a rainy day, you can hear it running through the pipe in that parking lot. So the conceptual design is being done right now, as well as generating some cost estimates. This project is not currently funded, but we will be seeking funding for it once those conceptual design and cost estimates have been completed. So another part of this project is public space improvements. So as I mentioned, there are a number of existing public parks along the way, which you're all aware of. Some of those are city parks, some of those are maintained by the Triangle Foundation. The Downtown Development Authority and other organizations have really been instrumental in programming a lot of those spaces, and that's really part of what we're trying to achieve with this project. And so there's been a number of events. Obviously, you have Thursday Night Live, and there's movies in Triangle Park, you have concerts in Phoenix Park, you have ideas like Splash Pad, which was done in Northeastern Park. All of these things are great events. Some of them are ideas that we're testing. Phoenix Forward is an example currently of ideas that are being tested in Phoenix Park. All of these projects will continue to be pursued to test ideas for those public spaces to ultimately implement them permanently in those spaces along the path of Town Branch. So Town Branch Greenway is the linear thread that ties all of this together. It connects all of the parks that I mentioned, as well as the new ones. It does also connect to the Legacy Trail at the Bluegrass Community and Technical College campus on Newtown Pike, ultimately coming down Oliver Lewis Way and connecting into Town Branch Park. This is a publicly funded section of the project. It is currently 100% funded. There are federal grants, local dollars, and state funding in this project, including a very significant Tiger grant from the federal government for the linear thread that stitches all of this together. So I want to show you some images. We're a little bit farther along on design on this section than we are on other ones, so I do have some images before and after. So this is current condition on Midland Avenue. And this is an example of what it will look like after. There's a significant amount of landscaping. There is a multi-use path. This path is actually wider than what you would find on our other trails right now. And so it can accommodate both cyclists and pedestrians at the same time. You can see also there's an expression of water here. This is an expression of Town Branch and in its original location. So this is an example of how this path will continue along Vine Street. Along the Vine Street corridor, this will separate into a separated bike and pedestrian facility. The bike facility is also separated from vehicles. So this would be a facility that people who would not feel comfortable riding in the street would feel comfortable riding on. This path is 10 feet wide, and the sidewalk varies in width, but is substantial. This is another example on Vine Street on your right in this image, if you can orient yourself with the Lincoln mural, this is the KU parking lot, effectively on the right. And so this is what this would look like afterwards. I will say Vine Street will retain 3 lanes of traffic. They will be a little bit narrower. We're hoping cars will go a little bit slower down Vine Street going forward, but it will maintain the same volume that it currently has. So what's next for this project? Right now we are finalizing the greenway and remaining sections of Town Branch Trail design, which are all funded. We're continuing to explore those public space pilot projects. Those are things like Splash Jam, as well as Phoenix Forward and other small grant-funded projects to test ideas in our public spaces. And that capital campaign, which is currently at $5 million for the park, is continuing. We will be under construction on the greenway in 2018 through 2020, and so you can look forward to what will be a busy couple of years in terms of construction downtown. During that period of time, you will likely have construction on the convention center, as well as the greenways, as well as many other improvements. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions you have at this point.
Anyone? Questions of Jonathan?
Parking? You're moving a lot of parking. Is there a plan for
Right, and
that,
so so there's 2 areas where parking is removed as part of this. Obviously, the most substantial section would be for the park behind Rupp Arena. I know the LCC board is currently evaluating options for the High Street lot that would potentially replace some of that parking. Along Vine Street for the Karst Commons project, those 2 lots are a city employees lot and a KU customer parking and employee lot. And so we've had conversations with KU about that. Obviously, the city will have to find a place for those employees to park. There is a 2-phase approach to that. The first phase, there will be a reduction in parking. In the second phase, it would all be removed. And so that would likely have to move to structured parking somewhere in the area. Obviously, there are structures, both constructed and under construction, in the area that could potentially take up some of that demand. There is a minor loss of on-street parking in 2 key locations. One is near the convention center. There's a few spots in front of the Heritage Hall section that would be lost as part of this and the convention center project, as well as some spaces between Rose Street and Main Street on Vine Street. There are some spaces there. They are not currently metered, but they would be lost. But those are relatively minor compared to the loss of the surface parking lots.
Who's gonna take care of the park after it's completed?
So the park will be maintained and operated going forward by a private nonprofit. That nonprofit is currently being incubated at the Bluegrass Community Foundation. That basically is the Town Branch Fund that is raising money for that park right now. Going forward, it will maintain that park as a private park, so it will not be a city park, but it will be open to the public, obviously.
I assume there's been some conversation and some partnership with the folks intending to do that High Street project. Yes, no?
So I would say
the baseball field, all of that.
The High Street, I do not believe that LCC has selected an option for that High Street lot at this point. So certainly at the point that a developer or a team is selected to potentially develop that site, we would be very interested in partnering with them to make sure that we have adequate access, parking, and things like that. But at this point, we don't know who that will be, so we haven't started those conversations yet. We certainly will.
If it was in the papers, so it must be true.
So the baseball, it's a good point. The baseball field was one of the proposals, and it happened to be the only one, I believe, that was released. But it was one of several proposals at the time, and I think they're gathering some more information from those applicants right now.
Anyone else?
Is there any talk of closing the street behind Triangle Park, the fountains, again, as a part of this, or not?
So that's been, right now we've designed the project with that remaining open. Obviously that has some pretty significant traffic concerns. Personally speaking, that would have a great public space benefit to both the convention center and to the Town Branch project. There are a significant amount of traffic considerations that have to be worked out. There's at least a partial 2-waying of Main Street and some other things that would have to be done. We are still evaluating that right now. But we have designed the project for the time being with the flexibility that it could remain open or be closed.
And then Vine Street remains one way.
Under
this.
this, it would,
Right. But it would work if it ever went to two ways.
it would work, yes.
Anyone else? Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, I think the next item on our agenda for new business is the book bench proposal. Nan, are you here?
I'm here.
Hey,
And Nathan.
Nathan's here, and Neil is here.
all right.
I just want to give a little background. So they presented to the investments committee, grants committee, art committee.
Our gurus.
Yes.
All of the above. That's
All the above, after our last board meeting, so we wanted them to have the opportunity to present to the entire board to see what you think about, the book bench proposal, so you all welcome and thanks for coming and.
Thanks for having us. Kate is really going to lead the charge here this morning. I'm Nan Plummer, CEO of LexArts, and Kate is the everything of
Arts Connect. And we also have with us Nathan Zamaron from LexArts, who is the Community Arts Director, and Neil Sheffick from the Carnegie Center for Literacy and Learning, who is their Executive Director. And Arts Connect has formed a partnership with LexArts and with the Carnegie Center on this project because we each have a sort of vested interest in it. Little background here. 2012, I was in London and saw a book bench outside the Tower of London that I was visiting because it had that wonderful poppy exhibition as a memorial to all the fallen soldiers in the First and Second World War. And the book bench happened to be called Katie Goes to London, so I thought, this is really cool. And it was a bench that had been illustrated and was one of 50 benches that had been sponsored by the Literacy Heritage Council. And it was a stunning project, and I thought then how wonderful this would be given the fact that we'd had Horse Mania, the Bourbon Barrels, the Doors, and done several similar sort of fiberglass art painted projects. So as things rolled along and I started to think about this more, I talked to Nan and I talked to Neil and got some buy-in interest, so I started to pursue it. And if you look at the first page of this proposal that has been distributed, the benches that are at the top were all just pictures that I picked from the London project. They are all illustrations of books. For example, easy one at the top, Dr. Seuss. The next one is Warhorse, then Paddington Bear, How to Tame a Dragon. Mostly children's books, but not all of them. The one at the bottom on the right is 007, James Bond. So these were interpretations that artists did with a selected book that they made. So we would like to do a similar project here in Lexington with 30 benches, actually 35, but 5 of those benches will be available to schools to do as a school project. We will have a call to artists, so it will be an open effort. They will all be Kentucky authors, and Neil will talk a little bit more about that. They will be auctioned at the end, as we've done in the past with Horse Mania, and it will follow pretty much the same format as the LexArts driven fiberglass molds have in the past, which is their expertise and where they're going to be helping this project along. So given the fact that the benches used in London came from Poland, we decided that possibly wasn't very practical for importation, and plus the design is copyrighted. So looking around, we found the benches at the bottom. These are just the crude, unpainted, unvarnished regular molds that come from Chicago, made by a family-owned business that's been in business for 50 years. They make millions of molds. They make goofy molds and dragon molds and big happy face molds. This is a fairly recent one, so it's not being used. The biggest project that they've had is one recently in Naperville, just outside Chicago, where they did 15 benches. So we would not be coming in with something that's old and tired. We would be using something that's not really been seen before. We actually decided we preferred this mold because it does define what would be like a hardback on a book. So with that, that's sort of the general overview. Nathan will talk now about the sponsorship level. We will have different sponsorship levels. This is the Opus sponsorship level that we are hoping this group will sponsor and support this project with.
Straight places.
Okay. Nathan Zamra, Community Arts Director with LexArts. I've been with LexArts for almost 10 years now and have kind of seen through a couple of the implementations of Horsemania 2010 and the Bourbon Barrels on Town Branch. So in starting to pursue this project, we thought it did kind of tie in with some of the things that Catherine had mentioned and the art committee was looking for in having temporary art projects downtown that would be, invite the public, encourage the public to come and tour. And we know all the great response that the public had with Horsemania and some of those other programs. So this, basically we're looking for a few, actually 3 underwriters at the start of the project so that we could put this next year worth of planning in. So this will be implemented, the last page is actually a timeline, but it'll be implemented summer of 18 through fall of 18. So we're looking for about probably a 5-month exhibition period where they would be out on the streets. There will be a lot of buzz in the community leading up to that and a lot of events associated. So what we're looking for is 3 $15,000 sponsors, and we did retool this this sponsorship package to better meet the needs of the management district. So we're guaranteeing that 10 or a third of the benches will be placed in the downtown management district footprint. Probably that could end up being even more. We want these to be downtown and walkable. But we can at least guarantee that a third of them will be placed in your footprint for the public display period. So, and in that, the downtown management district will get your logo or name on every bench plaque. So you would have recognition, throughout the entire project and any printed materials. So, so that's basically the kind of package that we put together to help hopefully meet the goals of the Downtown Lexington Management District and help us get the funding to get this project up off the ground and hopefully implement it next year. So.
Thank you, Nathan. And now Neil will talk a little bit about how the Carnegie Center plugs into the whole piece.
Yes. Thanks. We were very excited actually to be approached on this because, as many of you know, in addition to being a tutoring center and a place for education, we also work to try to to sort of celebrate the Lexington literary community and the entire Kentucky literary community. So this was an opportunity to get our authors, we consider them our friends, whether they're 200 years old or they're right here and now, on these benches, out into the public eye. And so we actually put something out last month, just one email that said, by the way, if we were looking for this kind of thing on these kind of benches, what would you suggest? And we got 90 immediate replies of different books that people would like to see, all by Kentucky authors. So this would be a really great celebration for the Kentucky literary community. And I also just want to add, this is a moment I'd like to mention that something that Nan and I and the city and Visit Lex and a few other organizations are working on, which is having Lexington become an international city of literature through UNESCO, be designated in that way. We have actually made it through the first cut, which of all things was the US State Department. They let us through to the United Nations, where our application is now sitting, along with Seattle's, as one of 2 being considered as a UNESCO City of Literature. If that came through and this came through, we see a lot of activity, a lot of interest in people coming to the city. And one of the things we've talked about is a tour, a trail of downtown Lexington with literary connections going on. So we see a lot of things coming together. Potentially down the road, we could talk about whether your organization would want to be a partner in that with this. But in the short term, this is like a fantastic beginning, and I hope we can all work together on this. Thanks.
I like the guided walking tour idea around downtown. That's Yeah.
I figured it.
Yeah.
And it would have a mobile app as well. It would also be coupled to a mobile app. Any questions, Jake?
Just the copyright infringement concerns, like Dr. Seuss, do they sign off on?
I don't know about that. I don't know about them, but I've begun the investigation of that, and it looks like it's gonna be a case-by-case basis. Like I say, we have a lot of Kentucky authors who would find this to be an incredible honor.
Yeah.
However, I would have to probably work something out with my publisher where they signed off on it.
Yeah.
I can't see why most of them wouldn't want extra.
Yeah, especially local folks, I would think they'd want to do it, but just in case.
And if you go back before about 1927, there's no copyright law, so if we're going back to the 200 years ago, we can bring that forward.
Okay, all right.
Along those lines, what about the benches out of Europe? Is there a chance that we would get sued for trying to copy their?
No.
The design is done by a group here, and they're providing you the design of the bench itself is quite different.
It has to be 15% different in order to avoid copyright.
What if we gave you 15,000 and you don't raise the rest of the money?
You'd get it back, I'm assuming.
It would, I mean, I think if we would enter a contract or memo of understanding that the project will be implemented, if that is.
You need
awarded.
$15,000 donors. Do you have the other two?
We've got leads on, we're actually having conversations with a few other groups in town to, so we're exploring those right now. And that's, like I said, we could probably, it's feasible to do the project. This is just ensuring that the project gets off on the right foot so that we can put the proper time and planning into it. It'll be about a year of planning and before the implementation period, starts next summer. So artists would be, being commissioned in that process.
You might also address the proceeds of the auction will go to where?
It's split between the three entities, Arts Connect, Lex Arts, and Carnegie Center.
So like the Horse Mania project, the Bourbon Barrels project, even before that, Dynamic Doors, the project is one that puts public art in the community both as exhibition and then as individually owned works of art as they're auctioned off. And the fruits of our labors help our organizations continue the programming that we do for free for the community.
And it's hoped that this is functioning art as well, because you can actually sit on these benches.
Well, that's something I was gonna say. If you all recall when Gil Penalosa came from if anybody saw his presentation, one of his main recommendations in walking around Lexington was a lack of benches and places to sit. So when I first saw this, it's an extremely functional, yet great way to support the arts community as well. So
we're hoping to work with Lextran so that benches are initially during the public presentation period placed where there are bus stops that don't have benches currently. So we have that meeting set up too.
Does 45,000 total cover the project? Is that, or is that a piece of it, or?
That covers our upfront time that these organizations are going to put into managing it for this first year. We are going to be, so each bench, just like the horses, are going to be sponsored by local companies and things. So they'll have their name, on a particular bench. They'll also be instrumental in helping to select the proposal that the artist produces. So those will. So anyway, those funds will be used to pay out the artist for their commission, to pay for the bench to be produced. So the sponsorship fee is for the individual companies and individual benches are eaten up mostly through the artist fee and then marketing. So all of that. So the amount that you guys are providing, and then on the back end the auction sales will help to replenish the organization's staff time and things that are being put into this. So we will, Lex Arts, of course. We have a public art fund that sometimes as we get extra funds we'll put into that so we can do more projects when things pop up. We're always commissioning murals and all kinds of things.
How much will it cost a company to sponsor a bench, or do you know that yet?
$5,000 for an individual bench, that's correct.
So I have two more questions. Where's the library at with this conversation? And then would you be interested in taking like a gold and silver approach where, say, split the 15,000 into 3 5s, and maybe you could get 3 organizations to team together and maybe have a little lesser presence on the plaque or whatever?
Well, we haven't talked to the library yet. They certainly are involved in the City of Literature project, and so read into this project as through that, that circle of work. It's always possible to break down sponsorships, but it actually takes just as much work and preparation to ask for $5,000 as it does to ask for 15. And so but that's a great tactic should we run into closed doors when we ask for 2 other lead sponsorships.
When would the money be, when would y'all need the money?
Um,
Upfront, how many months, or?
Probably, within the next 3 months, I think, was when we're gonna be really getting going on the project. I mean, we're already putting staff time into preparing all of these packages and things, but we're really gonna start gearing things up. We'd like to get these 3 Opus sponsorships confirmed within the next month or 2, so that we can really launch this. And then there is in the timeline, you'll notice there's a vertical line, and now as far as the $5,000 sponsor, so as soon as we get these 315s lined up, then we're going to start announcing to the broader public. And so that vertical line in phase 2, that's where we see our break-even point. And once we have, I forget the exact number, six company sponsors, then we've reached our break-even point, at least for paying for the benches to be produced. So we'll go ahead and place an order on the benches at that time, release a call for artists, and the companies, the companies that sign up, or any entity that wants to contribute $5,000 to get their name on a particular bench, they will have, in the order that they sign up, they will get to come in and select from the proposals. So so that there is an incentive to go ahead and sign up early for those businesses, because they'll get the first choice, the most popular book, or that kind of thing. And we also have, of course, the lists from past projects that we can reapproach all of those businesses that participated in the past. So I think that we should be able to sign up, those sponsors, I think, in a fairly expedited way. But we're just offering for a couple groups around town to get on the front and have your name all over the whole thing, to help meet the needs that you guys are looking at doing, and help us get the project off the ground.
I have one quick question. This one I always have to ask. With the, as far as the maintenance of those, like you're saying, like putting them in places like at bus stops or what have you, like if someone put a sticker on them or tagged them or anything like that, would it be difficult to remove it without damaging the benches?
With the murals, and I think we're going to follow us, and we had done with the horses, is we apply a clear automotive protectant coat to it. So it's a which can serve as an anti-graffiti coat, where once they're sealed in with a UV and anti-graffiti coat, we can go back through and pressure wash or scrub the surface without removing the paint underneath, just like you would your car.
With
So,
a water pressure wash.
Let it go, David, let it go.
Did you get much graffiti on the horses?
Historically, there's no.
Horsemania didn't get much?
I honestly, I think the only damage that was sustained was like college kids trying to ride the horses, because their legs were kind of thin at the bottom.
It's a thoroughbred problem.
But the benches are made to be sit on. They really have a good footprint. So yeah, we will. I mean, typically graffiti artists respect other artwork and don't. We haven't seen, in all the murals we have in town, I think I had one get tagged, and it was a very small thing we were able to remove. So.
Is there any potential these benches could be used to be slept on?
Not likely. I think, Kate, your research, both in person and you sat on the bench, right? But I think because of the way the curve is constructed, they're comfortable for sitting, but
And I don't
not
think
something
they
for
extend that long. I mean, I think you'd hang off the end, one end or the other.
dimensions.
I would, okay.
You-
No, just say, I would. Okay.
They'll figure it out. They'll be sleeping.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
They'll pass out on it.
Anybody else, any questions?
Are they comfortable to sit on?
Yes,
That's what we
yes.
hear.
And I've actually asked others who have had them, the Naperville people. I called her and I asked her because we have no experience with the one we've selected, and she said they were very comfortable.
Anybody else? Thank you all very much. We appreciate your time and interest. Thank you.
are we gonna vote on that, or, and what's the status?
Well, Beverly, why don't you just jump in and bring it up? When in doubt, Beverly will ask. All right. Beverly has posed a question to the chair of, we're going to discuss this, talk about it, vote on it, or what we want to do. Any discussion? Anybody? Woodford, you're chair of the, whatever we call it. Thoughts?
Investment committee?
Yes.
Yeah. I do like it, and, you know, I don't know that we vote in front of everybody, but maybe we do. You know, my suggestion would be if we wanted to propose 15,000 as an investment, that we make it contingent upon them securing the other two, 15,000. That would be my recommendation. and Motion. And that may be unreasonable, but I don't know that it is, because we're investing private money here. And my fear is they don't raise the other 30. I think they will, but this might incentivize the other two $15,000 donors as well. So, I mean, yeah. Thought.
Very fair. Yeah, it's very fair. Plus, it's our downtown.
Yeah.
About what is our budget line item? I mean, how much do we have for this particular category?
I think our budget, Gary, we probably have some, I mean, we have excess. We haven't, of course, we're not necessarily have to spend it all, but I think we could fit it in. I had a query though, what about, is there any issue with anybody here at the table that some of the art might be outside the footprint of our district of which the money is being raised?
Well, that's what we addressed with them in the initial proposal, is that we would want to ensure that, you know, a proportionate number of benches would be within our district, and I think they've addressed that.
Yeah, we've committed
Yeah,
to
yeah.
a third of the total being in the downtown
Right.
management districts.
Because I agree, it'd be completely unfair if we put 5 out of 35 in the district and we commit this much.
Well, I think if you have a company that sponsors it, they're gonna have the right to have that outside their business.
Only if they buy it at the end.
Yeah, there's a difference between the public display
Yeah.
period and then the purchase of the benches. There's sort of 3 phases. There's the sponsorship and then the public display after they're all painted. Then with the sponsorship accruing to each one. And then they're auctioned off. When they're auctioned off, we can't control where they go. If I were betting on books, I would bet that a lot of them will end up in your district. But the proposal guarantees that the display of them, at least a third of them, for that how many month period?
About 5
months.
In about 5 months, would be down here. And when you look at a sponsorship at this level, that's a lot of exposure and value over a long period of time, as opposed to, for example, a museum exhibition, which would be maybe 14 weeks. So it's a long exposure for the benches in the downtown management district itself. And then after they are sold and go about the city, your name's still on them. As
And I
the
think the
sponsor.
Carnegie Center really likes the idea of the clustering for the walking tours, which, you know, is logical in the district. To have a cluster of benches within the district, so you could do those walking tours and maybe guided or just audio or whatever.
App-based.
Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I think we get a lot of bang for the buck on this kind of a project, both when it's in this display period and the follow-up. So I would second Woodford's motion that we approve it with that proviso that only if the other 2 sponsors are found.
I support the project, but just, I missed a few meetings earlier, but have we categorized yet in how much of our budget each year is gonna go towards public art and other things like that? I'm hoping we do that at some point. Steve, have we done anything?
We really have, it's kind of an ad hoc kind of,
Yeah.
thing.
I think it's a good idea going forward to kind of have.
Because when we first put our budget together, we really had no idea kind of what the direction is, and I think I had a conversation with Beverly about some expanding kind of what we do and really kind of define really what our role is.
Yeah.
And do it, and is it public art, or is it not, or is it that something that businesses should be involved in?
Yeah. Well, that's something I'd like to see us work towards, get some firm categories and figures for them in the future. But for this project, yeah, I'm all for it.
You know, we had our budget approved in front of you all a month or so ago, and I think within that budget that we did have a line item for public art or that type thing, but whether I think Steve's right, first year we're just kind of feeling our way through it and kind of setting targets, but we definitely want to have that encased. I think the more history you have with this, you'll be able to pretty much fundamentally be able to tag a number, unless something really cool comes along, want to do, but just contingency, you see nothing in there for that.
Let's go to the next page.
Because I thought we talked about the
We did talk about
breakdown, yeah. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Thoughts? We have a motion on the floor and we have a second to that motion. Any further discussion on that?
Are you all okay with that? With the conditions?
We've got,
as far as being able to get
It
the-
can actually, as you said, be helpful.
I think it would be.
This will be for fiscal 2018, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, because we had 51,000 budgeted for 2017.
I've found the one that we presented to council. We have a $80,000 item for board capital projects.
Yeah.
This is 2018 budget. Okay.
I don't know if you could call it a capital project, though. But it's in board investments, public art, news, things along those lines, so.
Okay.
We can call it what we can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can recategorize. Any questions about that? Anything else? Do y'all want to vote? I have a motion and a second on the floor. I'll call for vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you got your 15. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time and efforts. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's the easiest 15 you're gonna get.
That's right. We'll see Steve afterwards for the
Yeah.
next 15. That's right.
Does someone have the sign-in sheet? Has that been circulated around?
All right.
What? This is from
That's
this
the old
meeting.
one, yeah. Okay, let's go to public comment for items not on the agenda. I asked Steve to give us a quick update on the DDA DLC merger discussions, or where are we? What's going on?
Okay. We're progressing pretty quickly through this process. Mary Beth is on this committee. Who else is in here?
Lawrence, Woodford.
Lawrence, yeah, Woodford. We've had the posting for the position of the president CEO of what is the Downtown Lexington Partnership. The Downtown Lexington Partnership is really just a DBA. We had looked at the structure of the DLC, because we're having to combine the staff of the Downtown Development Authority and the DLC. We went through a whole discussion period, and in the end, all we're doing is making some modifications to the DLC. The DDA will stay as an entity itself, but all the employees of the DDA will become employees of the DLC once it's all said and done with, okay? We had engaged the Stein Group to help with this integration process because of the HR issues, the technology issues, things along this line, because we were wanting to get all the entities under one roof. Everybody is aware also that the management district has a renewable contract with the DLC to help with services and so forth with what we're doing here as well. So the job has been posted. They've got response resumes that have coming in from the posting. I think, what do they have, maybe 15 or so? 15?
11 so far.
11 so far. So we will keep that open for probably another couple of weeks, and then, depending on how many resumes we get in, if it's 50, then the Stein Group's going to winnow that down to a kind of a smaller group of around 20 that we can look at and review, and then get that winnowed down even further as well. In addition to all the logistics, there are 3 different locations that they've pinpointed to move the Lexington Downtown Partnership, or Downtown Lexington Partnership too, so they'll be in one particular spot. And then they'll make a proposal on one particular facility. It was interesting, the number of people that approached Alan that had locations out in Hamburg and in Beaumont. Said, no, we think we got to stay downtown. So everything's progressing. Hopefully we will have everything wrapped up around September or October, something like that. So Lawrence,
Now, you
Mary
raised
Beth,
an
you got anything?
interesting point, though. Our contract with the management district expired July 1st, so we need to address that.
You're not working for free, no. All right, no problem. So-
Just as an update, as of about 4:15 yesterday, the Board of the Development Authority approved the reorganization agreement as well as the draft bylaws for the new organization. So that's now in the court of the DLC to do the same. And then hopefully, if all goes well, that both of those documents will be sitting ready for council to come back in August to take a look at.
Okay, great, thank you.
And then one other thing, that the new president, executive director, or whatever, that the group may hire, I see the group coming to this board and maybe asking for some help in paying that salary. Is that something we've talked about, perhaps as a part of
I thought
the
they were gonna pay for
proposal? All of it?
No.
No, but to hire someone that there might be a shared compensation contribution.
Well, that was kind of my understanding.
And that way we wouldn't have to hire someone.
Right, exactly. That's
That's
why I
right.
talked to Steve yesterday. I just wanted to make sure that this table, even though there is a lot of overlap, has a representation with regard to the management district's perspective on that, because I'd like to have some input with regard to that individuals, because that's what we're going to be doing. I agree.
I do want to mention also that the way it will be set up is you'll have 5 members from the Downtown Development Authority group that will be on this board. You will have 5 members represent the DLC, which will be on that board, and then you'll have 11th member, which is an independent person. In this case, it's Jim would be that independent person, the 11th person that's on that board. And the current board members of the DLC will become advisory board members, and the 4 Downtown Development Authority board members that are not on this bigger entity board will become advisory board members also.
So that 11th spot will be whoever the chair of the DLMD is.
Right.
Well, it'll be an independent.
I do you all the time.
No.
Actually, it'll be an independent person. We think it's appropriate to have the representation, but if for some reason the contract agreement between the two went away, then that may not necessarily mean that.
Makes sense.
But I do think, and you make a great point, I do think as long as there is this payment stream, I keep pointing to you, like payment stream in general, I do think somebody, a representative, doesn't have to be an individual, but some, I really do. I think it's the core of the downtown is this group, and not to have somebody, even though there's a lot of, you're wearing multiple hats, Lawrence, Mary, all of them are. So just a thought, but I think for now we're probably okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Any questions to Steve? Okay, any other items that are not on the agenda you want to talk about? Now's your chance. Beverly? You knew I was going to say something. Come on, Beverly. Larry, we good? Anything?
What are we gonna do with David's pressure washer?
I was hoping it was acclimation. I've been telling David, go get the bloody thing for 2 weeks now. So y'all okay with us doing that? I got a thumbs up from everybody. I think, David, let's go get the gum off the street.
Also, the parking authority has a big water tank and a trailer, so if that helps with water access, I know you were talking about getting a meter or something, but that's something we can.
What about storage? Where is it stored at?
He has a spot.
Does it have to be a
I can't remember what he said.
So much better.
Do what? Yeah, I guess we need probably some authorization for me to execute an extension of the existing contract I have with, or that we have with the DLC.
Might I suggest that it go month to month?
Yeah.
Once
We could
it's
do that.
once the reorganization and the restructure takes place, then it's at
Then we
this board's
could-
pleasure
Between
to
two entities.
re-execute with another organization.
Yeah, because things might change dramatically. So, well, the motion from Lawrence is to authorize us to execute an extension of the contract with DLC on a month-to-month basis under the current terms. Is that the motion, Lawrence?
That's a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Catherine, you had something?
Oh, I just wanted to mention that if you're near the Victorian Square Garage or the Square Garage, what is it called, Gary? The Square?
Still Victorian.
Okay, Victorian Square Garage.
We need to do a naming rights thing.
On the corner of Short and Broadway, Marjorie Guyon just installed some artwork in the garage to make it feel brighter and safer and more pleasant for people to park in the garage. The parking authority paid for that project, but it does increase the public art in our downtown and the vibrancy. So check it out. She was posting some stuff on Instagram and it looked really cool. So I think it's really going to change the perception of that garage, and that's something that we need to work on here in downtown. So check that out if you have a chance.
And hopefully you've all seen the billboards on Short Street at night. The two billboards, they really light it up. It's very vibrant. So anyway, thanks.
The new
Catherine.
mural looks good.
Yeah, it does.
Henry Clay.
Henry Clay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're getting there. Anybody else? Anything?
Good.
Thank you all for coming. I think we're adjourned.
Thank you, Jim.